Hello, in this one a Minion build, there is a lot to talk about. Timestamps are in the description, but I highly suggest to listen to the whole video, as there are concepts that needs explaining. I'm going to start with Poison Abyssling, after that a Rune Knight, and the last is 2 Rune Knight build. There are certain breakpoints in order to be able to do Rune Knight build effectively, but about those later. Minions in general is a slow progression build, but the damage can be scaled high enough to do hard maps. I find AI of the minions a little bit wonky, but that out of the way, let's head to the build guide. Enchanting is locked until we finish the campaign, so the only way to get a good basis is to buy mysterious gear from the shop. You want to rebuy it every single time you see that you are dropping higher tier bases or that the shop sells you a higher tier basis. Either way, this is an easy way to get damage. Early, buy a beginner staff. That gives us resource cost, as resource cost is kinda gonna be important for us. For the affixes on the gear, we are looking for as many resistances as we can get, also armor and a little bit of dodge. There are minion specific weapon bases and we want to get those as soon as we can. They open up a little bit later into the game, but as soon as you drop those, equip, they're gonna be an upgrade. If you are looking to craft your weapon, always look for the minion base, otherwise you're not gonna be able to get affixes that fit your build. There are quite a few affixes, so first I want to mention that minion affixes works for every single minion build, either it's Abyssling or Rune Knights. But if you get a specific like Abyssling attack speed, it's not gonna work on Rune Knight build. So what I suggest, always aim for minion stuff as it's universal and gonna work for most of the minion builds. For the affixes themselves, on the prefix we want minion attack speed, minion damage multiplier. On the suffix, minion critical rate flat is the most important one. This scales our critical the most. Minion critical damage is good. Strength is what we're looking for, or you can look for any other stat. And the last on the prefix can be weapon speed multiplier. But this is basically the best non-authority item we can have. Poison Abyssling skill board. We have Poison Arrow Abyssling, linked with additional poison damage, quick cast, minion speed, multi-shot, destructive instinct, and this link rune is the highest damage we gonna get on our Abysslings, as this one gives a buff for 3 seconds upon summoning to deal triple maximized damage on hit at 100% chance. That's why we want always keep resummoning our Abysslings, but at the same time, we want to have a way to keep our mana healthy and not run out of mana. The last link rune is minion damage. This one makes our minions behave aggressively. That means they're gonna start clearing a map a little bit better. We have 2 enhances, Mark of Focus for attack. For the defense we are using Bulwark of Protection. They are linked with increased duration and time acceleration. Mark of Focus is just a mark on one enemy, so I suggest to use this on bosses. For movement, we have Leap Attack and Roll linked with Disarm. For Zodiacs, I'm gonna show you up until we can do a Rune Knight build. We want to start with Plains, go into Forest, Yunos, and Rock. This opens up a third specialization, which is at 22 points. We want to go Water Shadow. In here, pick up Abyssling Count and Regeneration. 2 extra points we're gonna get after we finish Green Questline in Saluto, after we're done with campaign. Go through it, pick up these 2 nodes, go Float, pick up Stela. Opens up a second specialization, which is at 45 points. In here, Acceleration, Sharpness, and Minion Damage. Again, 2 extra points after we finish questline in Saluto. We want to go back for some damage dampening. Some enhanced skill rune effects. In here, we want to pick up Commander of Darkness. And that opens up a third spec. Going forward, max Abyssling summon count is going to determine if we can do 1 Rune Knight or 2 Rune Knight build. Every single time when Rune Knight fuses with the Abyssling, they get a fusion buff, which reduces summon Abyssling count. By default, Rune Knights can fuse up to 3 times. That means in order to maintain Rune Knight fusion level 3, and we want to maintain it as it gives 75% damage amplification per fusion buff, we need to have at least Abyssling summon count of 3. But the best is to have 4, as that is gonna enable us to not lose the fusion and always keep it on the fusion level 3. For double Rune Knights, that number goes to 6, and even then we can only maintain the fusion level 3 on the second Rune Knight for 20 seconds. Skill board for a single Rune Knight build. I'm using Wrathful. You can use any other Rune Knight that you want, but I find that Wrathful does the most amount of damage. Even though it's a melee, it still has a decent amount of clear. It's Awakened to Source. For the links, we have Minion Presence, Awakened to Source, Minion Damage, Awakened to Source, Minion Speed, it's not awakened, and you don't need to awaken. After we cap our attack speed, we're gonna remove this. Concentrated Area Damage, Awakened to Source, Mana Storm to Source, and Strike to Source. For the fusion to work, we need an Abyssling, and we want to use simple Abyssling. If you're gonna use the Javelin Abyssling, it's gonna become some kind of hybrid between melee and range, and it's not gonna do as much damage. So remember, just a simple Abyssling. Hazy Melody is important in here. It's Awakened to Origin for max Abyssling summon count, and we want to have a high tone effect. So whenever you use it, check it on your buff interface so it would have a high tone effect. Unite Crowd is Awakened to Origin for skill rune effect. Again, enraged crowd effect, don't use Unite, as Unite doesn't give us damage. I have Sacred Devotion in here, Awakened to Source. However, it gives a lot of damage amplification, but you should be careful using it, as it also decreases armor and elemental resistances. On the hardcore mode, it's really hard to negate the effect of the debuff, but if you are softcore, it shouldn't matter as much. It's also linked with spell activation while channeling onto the Mark of Focus. That means whenever we channel Sacred Devotion, it's also gonna cast Mark of Focus on a random target. Whirlwind in here is Awakened to Origin for some damage taken dampening. At the same time, Whirlwind in here is just as utility. It has spell activation on hit, linked to Gather Minions, and Gather Minions is a damage buff. It has a 100% uptime. At the same time, whenever we're gonna cast Whirlwind, it's going to teleport the minions on us. That means minions are always gonna follow and always gonna have the damage buff. At the same time, I didn't do any awakening on this, I didn't find anything useful, so we can choose any. After that, we have Shadow Provocation to solve our armor issues, linked with time acceleration, buff activation when hit, so it would work automatically whenever we are hit, Lingering Shout, and Hushed Shout. I have Shadow of Justice in here for... Shadow of Justice in here is to remove hard crowd control from us. It's linked with buff activation upon crowd control, so it would do that automatically. At the same time, I have linked it with Hushed Shout for some cooldown recovery speed. Seal of Dodge in here is as defensive layer for a little bit of dodge rate, and on the Verity Awakening, we get 5% perfect dodge also. For the Zodiacs, we are using the same ones as with Poison Abysslings. We have no other choices. I added a few extra nodes in here, but I'm running through those very quickly. If you need something, just stop the video. At the same time, because we scale from Enhance Effect, we want to have a few Enhance Effect nodes also. Besides that, everywhere is Minion Damage Jam. Anything that has Minion, we want it. A few traits are left without a single point. That is because of the last update to the Zodiacs. For the specialization, we have Max Abyssling Summon Count and Rune Knight Authority Effect. On the second, we are looking for Melody Tuning and Unite Power together with Net, as Net gives us HP absorption. And the third spec is where the biggest differences are. For the Seedling spec, the advantage is this. We only need one Abyssling to gain the highest level fusion buff. This is a really good convenience change. However, we still need the Abyssling summon count, otherwise we're not gonna be able to summon that one Abyssling. After that, it's stats transfer and some Rune Knight damage amplification. If we are choosing the other spec, Cole in here is mainly for survivability. We want to go for the Patron Saint, as Rune Knights get Damage Taken Dampening, and Guardian makes it so the Rune Knight takes 20% of damage taken instead. This is a huge defensive layer, and this is what I recommend. We pick up Patron Saint, and we can summon one extra Rune Knight. However, we are still not gonna do the double Rune Knight, as if we want to do it, we need two different Rune Knights. If we're gonna have the same Rune Knight, what's gonna happen is that only one Rune Knight is gonna be active on the map with the fusion buff. Another Rune Knight is gonna have no buffs. And sometimes, when it's gonna fuse, one of the Rune Knights are gonna disappear. But it's nothing wrong, you still always keep your Rune Knight active, and sometimes you even keep your second Rune Knight active, but without the buffs. After that, we still want to pick up Gather Legion, as it increases our Abyssling summon count. For the Charm Blessing, we only scale from Sebda and Aquila. However, using third one, depending on how good Lacrima you drop, you could pick up a third one without losing any significant amount of damage. Charm affixes are Minion Damage Multiplier, Minion Critical Rate Multiplier, and Minion Critical Damage Multiplier. I would say these are the best to have, however, you can pick up many more things. Whatever you get with Minion is gonna be some kind of upgrade. Even a Minion Max HP region would enable you to do some other types of builds. So remember, just keep, if you get an infant minion, it's good. Same goes for the legendary prefixes. Every single legendary prefix is good. Elemental penetration is maybe not as good, but critical damage and damage amplification for minions are really strong. Relics, we want to start with Boreal. On passive, pick up Enhance HP. On active, Curse of Power with cooldown, recovery speed, and enhanced range. Because our main Rune Knight is melee Rune Knight with a physical damage, this works really well. On the second one is Castor, for enhanced strength, just extra stats. Third one can be Sebda, for enhanced chaos resist, but if you do have a chaos resist, you can do Akuben, and in here pick up enhanced minion critical hit. The last one is Pika, it's only level 15, and we want enhanced armor. Enchant Masteries, 3 points into complete support, 5 points into cooperation 1, 7 points into complete support 3, Strong Body 3 points, Survival Instinct 5 points, Recovery Resilience 8 points, Brilliant Life 3 points, Complete Support 5 points, and Sea of Light 5 points. And Alchemy Mastery. Before doing a double Rune Knight build, we need to talk about a few things. First of all is the summon count. I have 7. That means even with 2 level 3 fusion buffs, I can still summon my Abysslings. And let's talk first of all about the Cold specialization with Patron Saint and Gather Legion. This one has a few issues. When I summon my Wrathful and I let it fuse with my Abysslings, it takes a little bit of time, not too long. Level 2 buff, level 3 buff, I summon my Lightning one, and that's where the issue arises. When I summon my Lightning Abysslings, sometimes instead of fusing with Lightning one, they fuse with Wrathful. And when they fuse with incorrect Rune Knight, you don't get a fusion buff. It does not reset the timer. That means on maps sometimes you're gonna see that you have to keep summoning one and the other, and sometimes they just do not fuse with the correct one, and this becomes annoying. At the same time, there is one important mechanic to explain. As you can see, when my Lightning Abyssling fuses with melee Rune Knight, it still does a charge release stuff. I don't know how to call it, but this is some kind of fusion skill that they cast every single time they fuse. With that in mind, when you are doing map, you kinda want to keep summoning your Abysslings consistently, because that extra skill that they do adds a little bit of damage. If I add a cold Abyssling to my build, right, but my Rune Knight is Lightning and Wrathful, they still cast this skill that is inherent to the cold Abysslings themselves. Of course, they do not reset the the timer for the fusion. That's the biggest issue. I think this is kind of interesting and good to know on how they behave. If I switch to a ceiling specialization, it fixes the problem of fusion. It can only fuse with the abyssling of the same element, and we only need one abyssling to get the max fusion buff. I'm gonna pick up energies. They work kind of well later into the game, but early you still want to have stat transfer and rune damage amplification. I'm gonna keep this one. So yeah, this one solves your issues with the incorrect fusions. It's much more comfortable to play, and it takes less management. But the overall DPS of the ceiling specialization is actually less than of that of coal. Even if you account that on coal specialization, the abyssling is not always with the level 3 fusion. I don't know why that is. I tried to test it many times. It was always exactly the same result. Double Rune Knight skill board. For the second Rune Knight, you can choose whichever one you like the most. Cold would be a little bit more area damage. I chose Lightning just to increase the damage from the shock effect that it does. For the Link runes, they are basically identical for both. On Lightning Rune Knight, we want to have Source Awakening with Minion Damage Source, Minion Present Source, Concentrated Area Damage Source, Continuous Shock Origin. This you can switch to Mana Storm if you want to, but it's a decent amount of damage increase just from a higher shock rate and extra shock effect. Extract Lightning Energy, Strike Awaken it to Source, and also on the Wrathful Rune Knight, at this stage you should be able to use Extract Earth Energy instead of Minion Speed. After that, on Gather Minions, I added Decreased Duration, Awaken it to Source, just for extra skill rune effect. Our cooldown is low, duration is huge, so this Link rune is only an upgrade. On Whirlwind, I have Fighting Spirit. It's defensive Link rune to increase our elemental damage dampening and physical damage dampening. Grand Approach in here is for HP regen, 3% of max HP per second. It's really nice, and it's all about defensives. After that, if we are using 2 Rune Knights, we need to have 2 Abysslings. Of course, summon Abyssling. You don't have to awaken, I have it on source, it doesn't do anything. And Lightning one, for the Lightning Rune Knight, if you're gonna use Cold Rune Knight, you need the Cold Abyssling. Another big change in here, that attack enhances and Sacred Devotion is linked to Improved Technique. Improved Technique is a nice one, it gives extra rune levels. That's all it is about. On Bulwark of Protection, I'm using buff activation when hit. It saves one active action bar, that means we don't have to press on it. And it gives us quite a bit of buffs when we are hit. Also Veil of Protection for extra defensive layer, but if you don't have enough skill board space, it's not necessary, but it's nice to have. I'm gonna show action bar because the skill board is kinda complicated. On my main action bar I have 2 Rune Knights, 2 Abysslings and Whirlwind. On quick slot from the Rune Master XP, I have Sacred Devotion. Uniques from the staffs, we have Focus of the Abyss. This one drops at low level maps. We have Minion Damage Amp, which is nice, a little bit of attack speed, it's good, and we also can save a few Zodiac points from this passive, which makes Rune Knight immediately fuses into Abyss Knight, is the same as the one that we have on the Ceiling specialization. Alyssa's Aurora, I would say this one works better for the Lacrima instead of being equipped. It has minion maximization chance, which is a huge, plus the max Abyssling summon count. Pearlet's Gauntlets is more of a utility unique that enables us to choose one of the Rune Knights. You can keep rerolling your gloves with the unique change essence until you get the Rune Knight that you want. And what it does, it makes that Rune Knight spawn with level 3 fusion buff, but it increases its cooldown by 100%. This one, at least the way I use it, on my double Rune Knight build, I have my Wrathful, I'm doing Wrathful manually, but I have a Lightning fusion buff. That means my Lightning Rune Knight is spawned immediately with level 3 buff. It saves me a little bit of time on the map. Damage wise, they are not huge, so I would say it's better to have crafted gloves, but early it's a little bit of a convenience. Crimson Master Body would be really good if it was Minion skill rune level and not Minion link rune level. If you have this early, it's fine, you can use it, but it's not a big damage increase. On accessory tab, we have a few good options. Lover's Breath is nice before you craft your enhanced potion effect belt. It gives plenty of stats, it's good. But what we're looking for is Unity token. Even a low tier Unity token gives us max Abyssling summon count and 2 minion skill rune levels. It's a huge damage increase and it's actually worth to use it instead of a crafted one, at least early in the game. Knight's Belt is a good choice if you still lack Abyssling summon count. Besides that, this belt is mostly useless. Quick breakdown of my max Abyssling summon count. I have 6. When I enter a map, for some reason I have 7. I have no answer for that one. By default, I have 1. 2 are on my specialization. 1 in Water Shadow, another in Coal from Gather Legion. 4th is on Hazy Melody, on the Origin Awakening. 5th is Unity Token. And 6th is my Lacrima. It doesn't have to be a Lacrima, it can be crafted on just the weapon that you have equipped. What I want to mention in here also is that crafting on a one-hander wand with a minion damage implicit, it's not worth. It gives us minion critical rate multiplier. It gives us minion critical rate multiplier. But we don't want a multiplier, we actually want a flat. I have the same wand, and when I go onto the affixes, it says flat. But when you craft it, you get a multiplier, which shouldn't happen. I don't know why that is. What we are looking for on our Lacrima would be something like this. A two-hander staff. On two-hander staff, you can always create a flat value, and flat value is a really huge critical rate increase on our Rune Knights. In general, this is what you want to aim for. You can craft a multiple authority staff, but this is a nice start. Instead of having it max Abyssling summon count on Lacrima, you can equip a two-hander with the same authority. You're not gonna need Lacrima to fix your summon count. Main damage scaling on this build comes from attack enhance and skill rune effect affixes. And that's because Hazy Melody is attack enhance and it gives us Rune Knight damage amplification. Right now I have 133. I'm gonna remove one of my items with attack enhance. Let's do shoulders. I have 24. Right now, I have 120 Rune Knight damage amplification. If I remove something else, I have 8 jewels, and I highly suggest to craft all of the red jewels with the attack enhanced skill rune effect. This is the best jewel to have. Till you can get black jewels and star jewels, and even then, red jewel is still really strong. This helmet has nothing else, just attack enhance. I remove that and I go back to my Hazy Melody. It has only 115. And this is as far as my knowledge goes. If you're looking to craft some of the crazy good items for the minion build, I highly suggest to inspect some standard players to copy paste what they have. For me, I didn't reach that far as the Rune Knight build feels a little bit too wonky for me. It's not even the damage scaling part. I think you can scale your damage pretty high if you tap into the enhanced skill rune effect and skill rune effect in general. But my problem is just the convenience and quality of life things. Let's hope they're gonna fix those. And for now, bye-byes, GG's. If you have any questions, ask them on YouTube or find me when I'm live streaming. See ya!